Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. Have you ever had a moment where you thought, if I sleep with him, maybe he'll love me, or maybe this will make things feel more real and connected and intimate between us? I mean, overall, you might be thinking that sex is what love feels like. Well, you're not alone if you think that, you feel that. I mean, so many women, especially those who never learned how to date without emotional pacing, fall into the trap of confusing sex with love, because somewhere along the way, they might have been taught that being desired physically is the fastest or the way to feel wanted emotionally. And because, think about it, when you have sex, you feel. And if you are someone who aren't used to expressing your feelings or building emotional intimacy or connection, sex gets interpreted as something that feels like that intimacy. But that is only one aspect of chemistry. I mean, certainly sex is very important when it comes to relationships. I mean, it distinguishes between a friendship and a romantic connection, and something that can, like if that's the only thing, the sexual part, that can be fleeting. So today we are going to talk about first the psychology behind this pattern. Now, just to put my therapy hat on for just a second, when someone grows up with inconsistent affection, or in a family system where maybe they had to earn love by being helpful or accommodating or constantly giving to others, they often adapt or adopt the belief that love must be proven, not just felt. You also might have just had situations where you didn't feel very attractive and everybody else was attractive around you. And so you felt like that was a way that men would find you attractive. You might have grown up in a home where affection was inconsistent, where you had to earn attention by being helpful or good, or where emotional intimacy just wasn't modeled. So you had to learn the quickest way to feel closeness. And that was through the physicality of things. So for some, sex becomes the substitute for emotional connection because it's the only form of intimacy they were taught to understand. And then let's throw on top of it, if you've never just learned how to date, like just purely how to date, you might think that's the way to date. But people who take on the caretaker role early in life, those who overfunction or put other needs before their own, may also end up using their body as a way to secure affection or feel needed. And then again, there's another layer here too. You might add in like body image struggles or the belief that your worth is tied into your desirability. And it's easy to see how sex becomes the default way to be seen, to be valued, to be chosen. But here's the problem. When sex is used as a currency for love, it often leads to heartbreak, disconnection, the loss of your own voice in a relationship, even just attracting lopsided situations. So today, I am bringing on a beautiful woman, and we are going to have a live coaching session. And she has kind of lived some of this experience. She spent most of her adult dating life leading with sex. She used sex as her way to create connection because she never just learned how to date and pace herself and build things. But after a series of some painful relationships where sex didn't lead to the love that she wanted, and she has kind of swung the other way where she has shut down, and she has actually shut down her flirty, playful energy. So I think there's a little bit of fear to be seen as sexy out of fear that men will only want her for the sex. So as a woman who struggles also with her weight, she believes that sex has been just kind of the way to make men interested in her. But now, after years of feeling misunderstood, maybe a little used, she's done. She's absolutely done. And she has also just shut down. So she's trying to navigate this whole thing. I want to help her unpack how to get past experiences that have shaped this pattern and how she can begin building intimacy in a whole new way. One based on connection, confidence, and pacing, but more importantly, just how to date. So I want to welcome Nicolle. Nicolle, are you there?
Yeah. Hi, Kimmy.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for coming on. Was really happy to
Yeah.
have you here. Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously I explained a little bit, before, just as you were listening to this, some of the struggles you have, but I would love to have you share a little bit about just the challenges you've been having with all of this and what's been going on.
Yeah. It's interesting hearing because we've had that one coaching call, and I attended your class, and I'll just be upfront. A lot of that did not land with me, but some of it does. Do you mind
Mhm.
if I clarify?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So just I'll just put myself right out there. When I did my master's thesis, it was on women's celebratory sexual experiences, the spiritual and the sexual. I, at this point in my life for a few decades now, for me, using sex is not using sex, it's just having pleasure. It's hooking up with a guy for my pleasure, not for love.
Mm.
So that confusing sex for love, been there when I was a teenager, maybe
Mhm.
my early 20s, but not since my mid 20s onward, because I'm embracing my sexuality, and any pleasure I have that's out there, it's because I want it. So that piece on confusing sex and love for me doesn't match, but the piece, because that piece is so, I'm going to say easy but selective, very selective, but
Right.
easy for me, I haven't learned how to date.
Mm-hmm.
And so that part is dead correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having trouble right now moving from, like, just even knowing how to pace. Like like, and even like knowing a guy's interested when he's not very forward. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for that sweet spot where he's super into me, but respectful and wanting to get to know me first before jumping into the sack. So, and there's other pieces in there too, but how's that landing so far?
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that you clarified it. And actually you're saying what we're saying the same thing. And that's but the way that you're saying it is so perfect because it always starts somewhere, right? Like you said that used to be you. And then you kind of came into your own. And yeah, I mean, sex is so important. And I love that you're embracing it. And it's now figuring out how to incorporate that by letting men earn that of you. And I think that is
Mm,
part of learning how to date. And so it's kind of, bridging it together because, gosh, of course you should want sex. I mean, hello, like that sex is what keeps a relationship alive. And like I was saying, it distinguishes between a friendship and a romantic connection. But it's how, people lead with it. It's how you use it in a balanced way and incorporate it as you learn how to date. And so I think that's why I wanted to have you on because you're in such a beautiful place with it. And now it's just, kind of unleashing that sexy, flirty side that obviously you have, but in a way where it feels safe and that you know how to pace yourself with it, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, and so, well, tell me a little bit more, like, and we talked a little bit on the call, but just as we're reviewing your date. So, what is happening currently then now with like whether you're just out and about or on dates with flirting, all of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was on the apps, like for, The primary reason on some of the apps. So I went there.
Uh-huh.
That and that, for sex, that was uh quite disappointing, and some of it was fun. And then I just like in my own journey, I was like, okay, I really want to date. I want relationship. Okay. So I changed my profile and it said straight up there, like no hookups and, no hookups, looking for long term, but just to get to know somebody to start with. Um, and so I'd go on some of those dates as well, lots of first dates. And it's like they don't read any of the profiles. They don't take, the few guys that I was going out with, because I won't put that as a blanket statement for all men on the apps. But so I'd go on this date and then it would end up very clear that they just wanted a hookup and didn't really care about what I wanted.
Mm. Mhm.
And so I had some pretty dodgy experiences with that, and thankfully I just have good boundaries.
Mhm.
And so, stopped that. And then eventually those were just so disheartening that I just kind of stopped. But I haven't stopped searching or keeping myself open. So when I'm out in public, I make sure to kind of like if I'm in a restaurant eating, I'm like looking up every so often, trying to be approachable, or I've joined some things. I try to go events just because I like them as well,
Mhm.
but paying attention to the people around me, trying to be open and approachable that way.
Mhm.
Um, and that's kind of it.
Mhm.
So like that's where I'm at. I'm still kind of like, okay, I'm open. But when I took your class, I really realized that even on those first dates that I was having, I think I was getting quite like in a bit in screening questions so that I could avoid, like avoid not a waste of time because getting to know people isn't a waste of time,
Mhm.
but just so that to try to see if we're even remotely on the same page. First of
Yeah.
all, for the date, but then like relationships. Like are we even suitable, like like see
Right.
out of some of those questions, but then it's like yeah, the playfulness is not there because I was trying to like, are you even, should either of us go forward with this? Are we in
Yeah.
a good enough spot to like say, okay, yeah, let's get to know each other, do so the playfulness definitely gone.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's what I was kind of talking about where, I call it the pendulum effect where you were one way before and you don't want that anymore. So now you're trying to ward off any kind of guys who are like that and then you've gone so far to the other side where you've shut down the playfulness where it
Yeah.
becomes this kind of interview and are you worthy of it kind of thing. Right? And so that gets hard too. So it's finding the balance. See, it all goes back to balance and pacing
Hmm.
so that you feel good in it and also that the men feel that desire and attraction from you as well, but also that they have to earn the sex part. Right. So it's like, so how do we balance it all kind of thing? It sounds like. Um, talk, tell a little bit about, because I know we talked about your body image and like some of the things, even like when you were growing up and just like how you feel about yourself.
I can't remember what the growing up part was, but now I am a plus size woman. Um, I feel very sexy, but I'm struggling with either finding guys who are into me, just let alone all plus size women, like just like me, or if, the kind of do, I'm a little bit struggling with disbelief And that actually, I don't know that I actually mentioned this previously, but that is a direct relation with, like bullying messages I received as a child before I was plus size, before I was overweight. And it was all weight related. And it was just like the easiest target, I guess,
Hmm.
um, but I wasn't even overweight. And so but that got internalized. And now that I am actually overweight, it's like couldn't possibly be desired, which is a
Um,
shame because I also I pay good attention to my clothes. I love fashion. I love doing my hair and makeup or just going au naturel. Like I'm very comfortable with that as well. I feel great in my skin a lot of the time. And then there's a moment where I'm like, oh, is he really into me or just wanting to get laid?
aha. Yeah. Do you believe that a man could desire you without the sex?
As long as he likes a strong mind and a strong voice and a strong heart. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and because that's it. And I think that's really important what you just said, just kind of, and I think you touched upon it, but like you said, I don't think we kind of extracted it more. Tell me more about the bullying. Like when did that happen? How old were you?
So roughly maybe as young as about 10 to about 15 or 6, yeah, about 15 years old. There was somebody in my life who had a lot of problems of their own and a lot of body image problems of their own. And
Mhm.
so behind closed doors, they would take that out on me. And because we had a size difference, which was the point, they were really tiny, and I was kind of just bigger than them, just as a matter of fact, that's what they targeted. And so, but of course, there was nobody there to protect me. Um, and lots of other things going on. So, I mean, you just believe this person who's supposed to just kind of love you and support you and have your back. So, any fat name under the book, that's what got flung at me in a really cruel way. And I just had no sense of connection really to my body or that my body was actually healthy and normal or, beautiful as I got older and healthy. Yeah.
Wow. And what did you ever tell your parents and what was their reaction to that?
Well, that's a whole slippery slope. Not here to talk about that, but basically I was on my own.
Oh, you were. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and without diving too much into it here, just I'm sure that you've done some work around it, but know that it's a piece of the puzzle, right? Like, and so you
Yeah.
had to be independent then for a lot of your life.
Independent or just like constantly in protection and kind of dissociating, honestly.
Uh-huh.
Just hiding from it. I was really the brunt of everybody else's dysfunction.
That's a lot to hold on to.
It really was.
Ah.
Yeah.
Have you thought about or just like how did that then affect your dating life?
At first, well, it's a mixed bag because when I was a young teenager, my hormones were crazy. I had a very strong arousal and sense of sensual. I'm a very sensual person. I always have been. That is just part of who I am.
Yeah.
But using sex to get love, I didn't know there was a difference, right? So
Hmm.
when I was younger and, like late teenager years, when I was yearning for that love, I would confuse that, oh, we're having sex, therefore he loves me kind of thing.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I did learn the difference. I did,
Hmm.
thank God, I learned the difference and also was able to just reclaim my pleasure for myself. And that was probably partly through my education, wanting to be a sex therapist. Um,
Hmm.
a lot of travel and growth and and independence. And I got to reclaim that peace and stop that behavior because I knew it wasn't true, that it was, and that I could also have one night stands or have a sex-based relationship that was joyful and connected.
That,
So like I moved
yes.
beyond it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, this is really important. And I think that's what I was trying to, like, at the beginning of the podcast talk about is that it starts somewhere like that, and
Mm.
also you got really good at it. I mean, let's face it, like
Yeah.
anything that you practice for a while, you're going to get good at and you enjoyed it. And so the confidence probably became that, and you knew that you could pleasure a man and you could feel really good about it. And in those moments too, when you're physically intimate with someone, those moments feel so good, like when you're with that, kind of confidence and pleasure state. And but then like afterwards, the problem with it, if there's not an like the emotional piece and ways to make men earn that, then it dies off often.
Well, I think there's a period where it's like I wasn't in it for the relationship, right? Like I was having fun, I was experimenting and exploring. And then I think it was about 4 years around my late 20s where I was like like lots of experimentation and fun. And then there was a moment where I was like, you know what? Like I would like a partner now.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's kind of funny because that's how I met my husband. Was I just took him home because in a moment, like I had noticed that, but in a moment I was just like, geez, it's been a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to get laid. So
Right.
so I picked him up in a bar. We went home, but and it was a phenomenal night all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a distinction though. It's not just no, I can pleasure a man. I can be pleasured by a man. Like
Oh
it's a
yeah.
two-way thing that I expect, right? That it's a
Absolutely.
really beautiful connection in that way and generosity all around. And I ended up marrying him.
Mm-hmm.
So then the dating was never there. I was thinking since our last conversation, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, the two best dates I ever had in my life, three, two of them were in my teenage years.
Hmm.
And they were as romantic and they wanted to get to know me and I wanted to get to know them. And they were really beautiful dates. And like nothing since, right? Lots of fun, lots of experimentation or just like connecting without the strings attached.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting off track.
No, you're
So,
doing perfect.
I'm
You're
getting
at
off track.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
so
yeah,
the dating piece, like
yeah.
it's only recently since I've been divorced. So I was married for quite a long time. I was married for 12 years, together for 14. And it's only now, basically since COVID, that I find myself in this very bizarro world of dating.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID changed things. So it got even more bizarre. But it's like I don't know the rules. I'm like, I'm just gonna, if I find a guy attractive, I'm gonna just take what I want as long as he's consenting. And so I just show up, and I'm like, I don't understand dating nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't know what the pacing looks like because I haven't done that since I was a teenager, and that was probably self-paced just because I was young and inexperienced.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so here I am in this weird place of dating and not understanding that the fine line of of the pacing thing.
Yeah, the pacing and balancing. That's
Yeah.
yeah, no, and understandable given your journey. In when you think about dating, I think it's important to understand what you're defining as dating. Like, what's your definition? What do you want?
Like I said, it's like two, I don't know if there's two types. I'm just going to talk my way through this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. No,
something,
this is
something
important. Like,
we're look,
paint me a
yeah,
picture of what that would
something,
look like. That would feel like better than what has been happening.
yeah. Okay, that's a great, so better than what would happen is
Mhm.
somebody who A is attracted to me. However, it turns out we get together and we're there on a first date, whether they ask me or I ask them, and they're like, hell yes, right? Like, so there we are on a first date. If we really don't know each other at all, I'm fine with a coffee just to test the waters. And then if it's a yes, then like, let's move forward with an actual real date. I'm okay with that. But if they've asked and, like, I would love to be taken out. I would love
Mm.
just kind of like that intention of like, hey, I'm kind of into you. I want to spend some actual time with you and get to know you. Let's have fun together. Let's talk. I expect him to ask me about myself. And so many of these first dates, there's not even conversation about wanting to get to know me,
Okay.
and
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, this is.
there's just, yeah, I got to carry the conversation and I leave lots of space, hoping. I even ask questions like, so like, for example, like, oh, what kind of movies are you into? Right. And he says, I mean, it's such an easy ask to go, and you? Literally, that's all he needs to do. And there's not even that level. There's no reciprocity of wanting to get to know a person. And that's kind of weird for me. There's not even lighter questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
This is a
yeah,
pattern. You're finding this like a lot.
it's a pattern of
Mm-hmm.
everyone I've met on the apps, every single one.
Got it.
I did go through a conscious dating.
Uh-huh.
So that's more, like more of like an authentic relating, which is an awesome course, authentic relating. So everybody who showed up at this speed dating was there to be real, to say what they wanted, whether it was dating, whether it was like just a sex partner, whether it was, looking for the love of their life or friends first. But everybody was there to just be real and see if they connected with someone. And I walked away from there with 5 dates or 5 phone numbers. I went on 5 dates and they were really high quality,
Mm.
where the conversation was rich, it was real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we talked about and nothing got really heavy, but it wasn't super light either because we were like, yeah, this is me and what I want, and it was reciprocal and it was really wonderful. I didn't meet my match, but I met 5 very wonderful people.
Okay. All right. So that, yeah,
Yeah.
I remember you talking about that. And this is a little bit related to, because I want to kind of just chisel away with this whole notion of femininity. And because,
Mm,
you've been independent your whole life and you've been doing things for other, and you are such a giver. Like I really felt that from our other call. I'm just wondering, how you lead with your energy and also conversations because you make other people feel great. Like you said, you're great at asking questions. I'm just wondering how much you show up for you and express what you want and offer more things and demand that for yourself.
yeah. So this is a learning curve for me because I'm like, I thought I was. Like,
Uh-huh.
like if I'm into somebody, I'm gonna tell them so that they know it, and then, the ball's in their court, right? But So many people don't say what they're feeling or that they're attracted or, like, so I'm like, I'm gonna do my part
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then see what sticks. But
Yeah.
one guy and of the good group, one of the five, through our conversation, he's like, "Whoa, we're so not on the same page. I feel like you really know who you are and what you want." He's like, "I'm not there, so I don't think this is gonna work." And he had to catch a flight like within a couple of hours, legitimately.
Uh-huh.
I already knew that when we went on this date. And but his feedback was like, okay, so now, and I think that was just a legit thing, not at the same place of knowingness, self-awareness or place being,
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with the place that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
But I also thought, well, I don't have it that together. I'm still a human.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it did make me question a little bit.
Uh-huh. Okay. And then the last question, then I want to give you some just like homework and things to start working on to kind of nail down this thing called dating and so that you do feel that pacing. Um, with your clothes, I know we talked a little bit about. So are you conscious of what you put on your body? Do you feel good about your style and also just how you move in your body?
At most days, well, I say I have a really good sense of style, but maybe it's not for everybody. But I'm not about to overly change that either.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like a smart kind of a little bit gothic, but totally feminine. It's like shabby chic rocker kind of
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Super feminine, a little bit edgy. Um, and when I dress for a date, it's definitely to look good, feel good, and be a little bit sexy or, on the feminine side,
Okay,
typically.
good. Good.
Yeah.
So you feel good. And then like the body language, because I know you said that like some of you, just your being, has been scared to kind of show all the playfulness and the flirtiness. Like, has the body
Yeah.
language stuff shut down a little too? Are you feeling that?
Well, I'm trying to think of some of my dates. I mean, they usually
Mhm.
lead to kissing, I gotta be honest.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
because like they you that's a good test as well as just a pleasure. So
Do you
I
initiate that or do they?
oh, they do.
They do. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you're
Um,
feeling that kind of just body energy still when
yeah,
you're,
like touching their arm
yeah.
or leaning in.
Mm,
It's kind of what I do for a living, right? So it's kind of a natural thing for me to do. And then,
right.
but I do have distinct recollection on some of these dates where it was going quite well. Like the body language is a bit there, the touching of the arm, the leaning in, that
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, because I know you know how to do it. I just wondered if you had like tapered that off a little, knowing that, you're trying to get a guy to have more of like, that earning pacing thing that we're talking about. Okay, so here's a couple of things that I would love for you to just think about at least. I really love what you said that you connected in that tribe of conscious people. Like it seemed like, because I
Hmm.
always say, you know, it's like hitting your head against the wall sometimes because you could be doing all the right things, but you might not be with the right people. And finding your tribe is super important for sure.
Yeah.
And I think then you feel more yourself, and then the people you're with get you. Because you're right, like you shouldn't try to shape shift or modify yourself to being something that you're not, or shutting down yourself. That even more importantly, so that, now you're not playful because you're like, oh, well, I don't know how to do this. So I think to practice the pacing, it would be best to start with a tribe that you really feel good about. So, have you researched other kind of maybe, I don't know, it could be sites, dating apps, meetup groups, anything that has more that feel of like conscious people or spiritual people,
Yeah. Um, well, I joined a single social club recently.
right?
I'm not sure that that's the space. Phenomenal people I'm meeting, but just like some really lovely people we'll see, but no bell ringers right off the bat. That can grow for me anyways, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
when I think of that like on the conscious side, not so far. So I was hoping that that would be a little bit. I probably need to do some more, open myself back up. And it's only been a few months, but open myself back up to that kind of speed dating. The
Yeah.
reason I stopped was because I aged out. It's
And that
only for this age to this age.
right. And you know what? That's okay. Like
Yeah.
right now, I would love for you to be in practice mode
Mm,
versus like outcome mode, meaning like,
yeah.
gotta find the one, gotta find the next guy, because all you've known are relationships and ones that were built on great sex. Right now, I just want you having experience with just people without the sex so that you get that like kind of playful flirty girl back, and I
Yeah.
think that's the best way to doing it, especially if someone's not even like a viable age or option for you, but at least you could do it with people that you feel really good with, so I would definitely start Googling and explore different groups. I know even that there are apps for that. I know that there are conscious groups everywhere. I wouldn't worry about age so much. Just get into more of like the tribe and the practice mode. Okay.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think the second thing is what I'm alluding to is more about your mindset. I think it's, and again, I talk about this a lot. It's easy to shut down when you think about like the bigger fear and the thing that you're not wanting versus being really present and just in practice mode. Because
Yeah.
that way, if you're working on the skills and you're working on the things that you need to learn, that will help your confidence and eventually get you to where you want to go. But I think it's just too much right now to even think about that. So just focus like when you're going out on dates, the only thing that you should be really worried about is practicing being playful again and feeling sexy and confident and light and fun. Get rid of the like thousand questions like what do you got for me, buddy? I mean, I'm joking. You know what I'm saying. The kind of like vetting process that you were doing, get rid of the list. Get rid of all that because that's not going to protect you from the next thing. What it's like not focusing on the men. I want you focusing on you for once. You've always been focusing on other people. It's your turn now. And now you get to see as you slow down and really pull in and focus on you being you, you get to see how people react to you. And you're not going to jump into bed or do anything with somebody who doesn't deserve it or earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And honestly, I would even do a time mark for yourself. Like I would say in the next 3 months, I would be so bold to say, I don't even think you should have sex with anybody that you meet. Like I would just
Hmm.
practice being flirty, playful, and fun for 3 months without sex.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And I mean, you can have sex dates or playmates or whatever. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the art of dating. Like, let's just get you practicing that without sex.
Right. Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? So you first find your tribe, practice getting back to that woman. The third thing that I would love for you to also do is that I think you're so used to being in receiving mode and also the giving, or not in the receiving mode, more the giving mode, that I want you practicing just who really listens to you and who really can give to you, but you have to allow the space to do that. Like, you know how you said, well, at least some of the app dates that nobody asks you questions, like you keep asking all these good questions and they're not asking you back. Sometimes it can become almost too, I'm not saying that you do this necessarily, but just kind of pull in and like check yourself when the guy doesn't ask the woman back, like, what about you, you
Yeah.
a lot of people fill in the space by asking another question. So what happens is you get in interrogative mode, and then it becomes like, where were you the night of? Like, so then the guy sometimes doesn't feel like he has room or time or space to ask you questions, but he's just kind of used to you asking questions. So instead, insert yourself and contribute and like work on like maybe a story, something that happened to you, something that's fun. Use emotion as you're telling the story. And then you can see if he's sitting and listening. And then from there to see if he asks you questions.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I'm not saying you don't do that, but like, I think just as a way of practice, like just see who listens and asks you questions when you start contributing more and get away from like asking so much.
Yeah. I mean, I really tried to focus on like, okay, like ask something to show interest, like, but also leave space. I'm really good at leaving space. But I love what you're saying about like allow the space and see who listens.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
and
then like that speaks to me.
yeah, and also um when I mean about contribute, so let's say you ask a question about a guy. Yeah, like it would be great if he asked you something back.
Hmm.
But if he doesn't, insert yourself and contribute to the conversation and say, it's funny because it reminds me of, and then just start talking about yourself when he doesn't ask you. You just start with that.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a difference there, leaving space for him to ask you a question because, a lot of times guys are shy. It's not that they're bad guys.
Yeah.
They might just be nervous. They might be, not knowing what to say. But when you contribute something, well, now you're giving them something to maybe ask about. So just be careful of feeling like, well, why isn't he asking me questions? You might not be giving him enough to ask about. And some guys just don't have that skill or they're too nervous.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And it's more of a test, right? Because there are some guys who just really don't care, let's face it. And those are those guys. But hey, that's great because then you'll collect that data. So, really, what I want you in is more data collection mode rather than are you my boyfriend? It's
Mm-hmm.
right. And
Sounds
I
good.
think
Yeah.
it's just going to be so much like you can breathe easier. It'll be so much more fun. I mean, Nicolle, you're such a beautiful, sensual, amazing woman. And there's so many layers to you. I just would love for you to practice showing all those layers to those guys and for 3 months without the sex and just see what it's like and then journal about it. Like and then what that journey is like for you.
Okay. I'm taking some notes here. So
Yeah, please. No, it's good. How are you feeling when I'm saying these things?
yeah, like I can notice some movement, like some areas for movement that
Uh,
especially around like the talking and focusing, when they don't answer, when they don't say anything, instead of focusing on them, it's like going into that,
mm-hmm.
oh, earlier today I had this experience and it reminded me when I was a child, blah blah blah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah, exactly.
some
In a
sort of
light way.
sharing.
Yes.
In
Mhm.
a yeah, in a light way, and that's a really interesting strategy. and then leaving space to see like what they do with that, if
Mhm.
anything, which I mean, like is hit, there are really great guys out there, as I've mentioned, like from I did have those 5 great dates.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I will try this. Yeah.
I think well, what's interesting about your answer, and this is what I think it would be also awesome to just kind of continue with, is that I said, how are you feeling? And you answered it with a description. You didn't really say how you felt.
No.
You said, yeah, well, what's interesting is, and then you went into descriptive mode, and which is fine because I still wanted to know what you were reacting to. But I think there's something there. I think that's why. Do you remember how I've been talking about emotional intimacy?
Yeah.
Emotional intimacy is built when someone feels something from the other person. And how that's done is through feelings. So you saying to me, like, I feel, I feel lighter. I feel excited. I feel hopeful. I feel nervous. I feel a little bit confused. Like whatever the feelings are your feelings.
Yeah.
But then as the receiver, now I know how you feel. Because I still don't know how you feel, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So, I feel a little bit hopeful, a
Yeah,
little bit doubtful,
yeah. No, that's honest. Yes.
both.
Uh-huh. Hopeful and doubtful. And that is true. See, now, like, say if we were working together, where I'm like, okay, well, now I know how Nicolle is feeling, so I can know how to guide her and work with the doubtful side of her or work with the hopeful side of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is almost meta to what I'm talking about. I think this is the piece that's missing with you and men. And then what happens is that you rely on the touch to connect in that way. And if you just sprinkle in and add this emotional part, oh my God, it's going to be so powerful.
Yeah. Okay. It'll take me a moment to process this and
Yes,
really
yes, I
think
was good.
about it.
And good thing that you came on the podcast because now you can listen to it. Like I love when people volunteer to do this because this will be valuable for you. And then as you work on it, you can go back and listen to the episode and be like, oh yeah, and you just chisel away at it a little bit at a time. And I promise, you'll get there. And I think this is just a skill that you haven't really honed in on yet. And I actually think you're going to like it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been really interesting,
Oh,
and I've taken some notes, and I'm definitely gonna go back through and listen again.
good. Yes. Well, I'm so glad and I'm excited to hear how, things go. Um, I guess just as we end here, what is the one thing that maybe feels hopeful to you?
That I don't have to work so hard.
Ah, amen.
Oh my word, right? Like
Yeah.
just show up and show up for myself, and just
Ah,
let the rest be. Like,
so good.
yeah,
Yeah. And you know what? Even as you said it, there was this lightness that came from your breath. It's like I think that energy might have been part of what's been happening too with dating. I mean, that's exhausting trying to work so hard with all of this and this will be way, way lighter for you. And because of that, your energy is going to be lighter and more appealing for the right
right.
guy.
Yeah,
So,
excellent.
yes, I'm super
Looking
proud of
forward.
you. Thank you so much, Nicolle, for coming on. And well, I'm excited to hear how things go.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thanks for joining me today, you listening. This has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Salzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And if you are hiding in some way and maybe has shut down your sexy confidence and maybe you have some shields up you're not even recognizing or realizing, I do have another workshop coming up. I'm super excited. It is co ed and it's called Unleashing Your Sexy Confidence. So, whether you felt sexy before or you never did, you will learn the art of attraction and chemistry. And as you heard today, it is so important as you're meeting people, but how you do that in a safe way, that's the key. So, if you are interested, go to stophatingdating.com. That's stophatingdating.com to register. And remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.